All right. Now call the February 12th council meeting to order, 6 p.m. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. The invocation will be given by Deputy Mayor Jim Bernard.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you so much for your love and thank you for being with all of us tonight. Please keep everybody here safe, especially on the way home, as well as everybody in the city of Avon Park. Keep them safe. The school's still starting through a couple more months. Thank you, dear Lord, for listening to our prayers and ask you for continued forgiveness, and we do this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Melody, if you'll please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire.
Here.
Councilmember McCure.
Here.
Councilmember Towler. Here. Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Here.
Mayor Anderson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
I don't think your microphone is on there. That's it. All right. First up, we'll have a proclamation. This will be for the Irish Heritage Month. You want to go ahead and read that into the record?
Alrighty. Whereas by 1776, nearly 300,000 Irish nationals had immigrated to the American colonies and played a crucial role in America's war for independence. And whereas 5 signers of the Declaration of Independence were Irish descent and 3 signers were Irish born. And whereas Irish American helped to fashion a system of government for our young nation, and whereas 22 presidents have proudly proclaimed their Irish American heritage, and whereas in 1792, Irish-born James Hoban provided architectural plans for the White House and served on one of the supervising architects for the construction of the Capitol, and whereas Irish-born Commodore John Barry was recognized by the United States Congress in September 2002 as the first flag officer of the United States Navy, and whereas Commodore John Barry fought for the last sea battle in the American Revolution off the coast of Florida, and whereas in 1813, Captain Oliver Perry, an Irish-American, achieved a major naval victory in the Battle of Lake Erie, and whereas in 1942, the 5 Sullivan brothers made the ultimate sacrifice for democracy and freedom during the naval battle of Guadalcanal, and later had the destroyer USS Sullivan commissioned in their memory, and whereas the Irish first came to Spanish La Florida in 1500s, the first as missionaries and mercenary soldiers, and then as planters, traders, businessmen, doctors, and administrators. And whereas 3 of the Spanish governors of La Florida were actually Irish military officers, and whereas Father Richard Arthur, an Irish-born priest from Limerick, who was appointed parish priest for St. Augustine in 1597, and ecclesiastical judge of La Florida, established the first public school in America and opened it to both boys and girls of all races. And whereas Andrew Jackson, whose family came from the county Antrim, served in Florida's military governor following the acquisition by the United States, and whereas Irish Americans since America's inception have provided and continue to provide leadership and service to this nation's political, business, and religious establishments, and whereas it is fitting and proper to celebrate the rich cultural heritage and many valuable contributions of Irish Americans.
Thank you, Jerry. We have Mr. Canning here tonight. You want to say anything?
Oh, sure.
Okay. If you do, please approach the microphone there. Just give your name and organization, if you will.
In English, my name is Greg John Canning. In my language, it's Great Hershon O'Connor. When I married my American wife, she said to me, we're going by the English form. She said, I can't have a name that I can't pronounce. Mayor Anderson, city commissioners, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. On behalf of the Irish community in Florida, I would like to express my gratitude for your kind consideration in designating March as Irish American Heritage Month. St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, is without question the biggest celebration of a national day across the globe. Throughout American and Canadian cities, in Ireland, in the United Kingdom and Germany, in Norway and Denmark, Australia and New Zealand, South Korea, Japan, Nigeria, Grenada, and even on the Caribbean island of Montserrat, which is the only other country in the world to declare St. Patrick's Day a national holiday, people will be celebrating this occasion and proclaiming themselves Irish for the day. This proclamation will coincide with festivities that are currently underway as Irish Americans once again gather to celebrate their heritage throughout the state of Florida. During the month of March, Irish Floridians proudly reflect on the legacy of their Irish forebears who have contributed significantly in the areas of education, business, sports, literature, science, engineering, medicine, law enforcement, and the arts. These are just some of the contributions that have been made not only by the Irish, but by so many ethnic and racial groups who came to these United States from the four corners of the world and who have assisted in developing this great nation of ours. As the current Florida Ancient Order of Hibernians State Secretary, immediate past National Director for the Southern States, and past Florida State President of the Ancient Order of Hibernians, the oldest and largest Irish organization in the world, tracing our roots back to the 1500s. I would like to acknowledge the esteemed honor Mayor Anderson and the city commissioners have bestowed upon all Irish Americans living within the great state of Florida. Guramahagad Agus Lo Elapodric Fe Hanagwich. Thank you and have a blessed St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate having you here. All right. Moving on to item number 5, we have an introduction of the new Public Works Director, Mr. Jason Atkinson.
Well, he's the guy sitting next to me if you haven't figured it out yet. We've been 3 weeks? Going on his third week here. He'll introduce himself. I put in his resume so you can see that he has a lot of experience. We've been without a Public Works Director for a little over a year now. And I told him the other day, when we leave in a meeting, I'm glad we've got one now. But we've had a lot of people put in who had just public works, no utilities. That wasn't going to do us any good. And I think holding out for the right fit so far into his third week, he's done nothing but impress me with what he's done. He's got leadership abilities. He's got a lot of knowledge in utilities. Already seen several things we need to be looking at. So with that, I'm going to turn you over to Jason. Your turn.
Welcome.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Council. It's a pleasure to be here. As Mark said, I've been here going on my third week. I have a great team. Been able to get my feet wet into different challenges, a couple meetings, but I'm really impressed with the team. Before I came, I looked over the budget, and I felt really good about what the vision was and what the commitment that the council had towards public works, and I was really excited about it. So that was one of the key things of coming over here, that I saw that things were in order and that you're headed in the right direction. So I'm pleased to be here. I look forward to being a resident soon in Avon Park, and I'm just ready to get to work. And I hope this place, you see the difference, and we move forward, and everybody's happy. So thank you. Appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to years to come.
We're very happy to have you. I know the last 4 or 5 times I've spoken to Mark, he's brought you up, so obviously he's very excited to have you. So I think you must be doing a great job so far, and we've got a handful of big projects on the horizon. So we have confidence that you'll be able to take care of that for us. So
Glad to see another utility person from Miami.
don't hold it against them, right? All right. Anything else on that subject?
Nope, welcome.
See none. Again, thanks for being here. All right. Moving on to the consent agenda, be item number 6, be the minutes from January 22nd. Be looking for a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from January 22nd, 2024, please.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
No.
Seeing none, please call the roll.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Item number 7 will be a resolution 2024-02. This will be amendment to the code enforcement lien reductions to allow a payment plan for city costs.
A resolution of City Council of Avon Park, Florida, providing for amendments to the standard procedure for considering requests for code enforcement lien reductions to allow a payment plan for city costs under special circumstances, providing for an effective date.
Jerry, do you want to give us an overview here?
Yeah, so it was a request by the council that we implement this circumstance in some cases where people are, have an inability to pay the city costs, which are not forgivable. They're basically always paid, but some people weren't able to pay them right away, but we want to allow an opportunity for them to still get the lien reduction by providing for a payment plan whereby they can get involved in the payment plan and still get the lien reduction based on that, so long as they comply with the lien, the note
Okay.
for this.
Any questions on this?
Nope, think you did a great job.
Thank you. I had help from Randy and Brittany and the city manager.
Thanks
All
to
right,
them,
there's
too.
no questions. We'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. We approve resolution 2024-02.
Do we have a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Item number 8, we have an event request for the Who I Am Foundation 5K Run Walk. We do have Miss Doreen Perlman here with us tonight. Doreen, if you'll please give your name and organization for the record.
I'm Doreen Perlman. I'm here for, on behalf of the Who I Am Foundation. Coming again to ask you guys if we could do another 5K run. We'd like to do it in the evening this time. But the day of the race, we were able to give out, collect 1,000 pajamas for the foster children. And with the sponsors that we had, we were able to give another 2,500 pairs of pajamas for the foster children. So we would like to double that or triple that this coming year.
Awesome.
Great.
Any questions for Ms. Perlman? Any insight from staff? Anything you see?
Nope, we already spoke to her, and it's nice doing business with her.
Good deal. All right. Hearing no input, do we have a motion?
I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the event for November 8th, right?
Yes.
Item number, sorry, I'm
D8.
here tonight. D8.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Ms. Perlman, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I
for
do
coming.
have one question on this one real quick. Just nothing to do with the event, yes. The registration fee for that, how much is that usually for
It was
participants?
35, and what we're going to do is, by the guidance of Mr. Jarrett, he told us we should start advertising it, so it's going to go lower. It earlier you register, and the later it'll be 35 at the end.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Now, I do have nothing for this. I mean, I do have a comment though on the raceway, the roadway. Actually, I mean, when you're going up about 2/3 north on Lake Avenue,
Mhm.
and so since if you live on north side of Main Street and you live to the east of Lake Avenue, you almost have to go down to the truck route to get back out to 27 going and coming. There's one road before. I do give the city credit. They had tons and tons of cones out all over, and they did have the detour signs, but especially like that, the last couple we had were early in the morning, and then this one's going to be later in the evening. You know, it just, I would like who's ever maybe look at this to see if they could come up with a different route to where you don't pretty much close off Lake Avenue for a few hours that you can't get through. I mean, you can't even sneak through the cone because they got those cones like every 2 feet, so they made sure nobody could sneak through them.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say they
Well,
did it at the last one.
I'm sure somebody gets out and moves one and
Oh,
moves
yeah.
it back, but I wouldn't dare do that because I was afraid I'd get hit by somebody doing something like that. But I think that's something maybe staff will look at in the future to see if they could come up with a different route where you don't block off that long of a road for that length of a time.
Well, it's not. They're the ones that set up, and it's came from the Jingle Bell Run when it was the only
Yes.
one we
Yeah.
have. But we're having several more, and probably more coming behind it.
Right.
So, I mean, I brought this up before. We're kind of shutting down Main Street
Yeah.
quite often, maybe too much. And so, I mean, for this event, obviously, that's a route because
Yeah.
they'd have to have someone plan out a 3K,
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can bring it
a
up to
5K. I'm sorry.
Mr. Jarrett at the CRA, bring it up to see if he can, extend the route closer so that you could maybe at least get down Pleasant or something like that, or to be able to come across, because anybody who lives on that side knows that you just saw people going north as far as they could go before they could cut over, and then the same thing coming back, and then when people start picking up the cones near the end, where nobody was, actually the whole time I actually left that morning, they had to do that, and came back within an hour, and I actually never saw anybody running. So I don't know if I missed it or I was only gone about an hour, but it's just something that we'd bring up, and I think that the CRA with Mr. Jarrett, see if, because he's the one who started the Jingle Bell Run,
Yes,
to
sir.
see if maybe they could extend some of the route so that it wouldn't block off so much of North Lake Avenue to cross over.
Okay.
Okay? That's it.
All
Otherwise,
right.
great job, thank you.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
I'm definitely for the support of all these events.
Item number 9, this will be a discussion on reestablishing the rental inspection process. Mr. Schrader.
Well, this came up in when you were acting as the CRA board, and you wanted to put on this regular agenda. Randy has a lot to say about it,
Okay.
so if you want to start with him.
Tee it up, Randy.
Okay,
Tell us why we should or should not do this.
well, should not.
Okay.
Very easily, I can name probably 10 reasons why we shouldn't. First and foremost, I was looking at this. This looked like it was adopted sometime around 2007. This is about a 17-year-old code, probably back when you had a building inspector. Back in the city, we don't have a building inspector. We're not building inspectors, myself, nor the other code officer. We can't even find this checklist that referenced in this ordinance. Can't find a copy of it anywhere. I find the biggest thing is I'll throw a metaphor out there, is the juice worth the squeeze? We're having a hard time keeping up with what we have on the outside of houses. Now we're being asked to go on the inside of houses, which is a liability. I don't like it. Could be a safety issue. Could be a liability. You could end up going in there and walking out, somebody's ring's missing or money's missing, and now we're bogged down in a frivolous complaint. There's no other department in this city that goes into houses other than the fire department, and they get high risk pay. I've been to many search warrants in my law enforcement career where a lot of these houses, there's TB that's airborne, and I know this is all an initial inspection, but I know what this is going to lead to by the amount of calls I get routinely about people complaining that their landlord's not doing this, their landlord's not doing that. And that's why Chapter 83 exists in Florida statutes, Landlord-Tenant Act. And for us to take this on, I'm already one down. I've been one down for a year. It's just myself and another guy. Mm-hmm. And we now have the garbage, the solid waste protocol that's getting ready to be rolled out, I believe, in a week or two. And so most of our time is going to be spent following that up, let alone everything else, and trying to correct all the violations that are bound to ensue during that time, and educating people on how to bundle their trash and what they can put out. I just do not see at all how we would have time to even entertain this, let alone, is it a honor? Basically, how do you know who's renting their house out and all that? It's going to have to be by the honor system. People are going to actually have to come in and, yep, that's me. I'll pay the $37.50 and, go ahead and come in and inspect my house whenever we can come to an agreement when you can meet there. I mean, if you look at the current one, you got 3 times that you can schedule, and then after that, they could be in default. And, logistically, I don't think it's feasible. If we had 4 people, maybe. But then you're looking at literally how many apartments are there in this city?
A lot.
How many duplexes? Do you stop at just those? Do we do the Avon Park Housing Authority? They got a ton of them too. It doesn't say that in the ordinance. It doesn't say that they're exempt. So you would spend all day doing that. And then obviously I have a copy of the county's inspection list. First of all, they don't do them. This is this is a 10-page checklist on a home inspection that they have. So they have a building inspector. If they have somebody that calls in, they go out, a building inspector goes out, checks this, and then turns it over to code enforcement for the magistrate hearing if somebody doesn't comply. I researched City of Sebring's website. I find nothing on there that they have a rental permit agreement. I have a call into them, never received a call back. So I just, logistically, I mean, in theory, yeah, it's probably a great thing, but if you're doing it in the beginning of the year, I mean, you have some righteous people that call you and say, hey, yeah, I am renting out my place. Those aren't going to be the places that you have the problems with.
Right.
That's going to be the slumlords and a lot of these crack houses and that we have throughout the city. And I don't want to go into those. I'm not equipped to go into those anymore. I don't think it's fair for the other inspector to go into those. It's dangerous. And I don't particularly care for this ordinance in a nutshell.
I have to agree with Randy too. I looked at this, and my first thing looking at it was like, how many places would we have to inspect?
Hundreds.
I mean, and then, like you said, all the, you would have to download all this thing on a computer to track everything, as well as having somebody. I knew that you were down one person, but I think if you had the extra code enforcement, I just don't think it's feasible to be able to do that unless for some reason we did have a building inspector and then had a process to where somebody could maybe make a complaint. But I mean, I did know a friend that did property inspections on basically rentals that were done through the government housing situation. And so he got paid well to go around and check those because they had to make sure they were up to code on fire extinguishers and all lighting and all that kind of stuff. But to be able to do it in a city, I mean, there must be thousands and thousands of rentals. I mean, the manpower would, be a big chunk of our, not only our budget, but also, like you said, being able to cover ourselves. I just don't think it's a feasible thing to get involved in.
And I struggled to find old ones that were done. I don't think it's been on the books, but I don't think it's ever really been done. I think it's just one of those codes that got lost in the, over the years, and it's just kind of there. We have a lot of codes like that. A lot of codes still reference the old police department and some of the things that can be done then that probably eventually need to be changed. But hopefully it's a start with this one. I keep repeating myself. I just don't see how we have the time to deal with this, what's on the horizon in our current staffing.
Go ahead. So I have a little explanation here. I did not start this, the old rental inspection program, but I did stop it. And it was because the city of Temple Terrace got crushed in a lawsuit. They did something slightly improper, and I spoke to the attorney that represented Temple Terrace, and I found out all the issues and so on. And I just got the feeling like it was a landmine for both the city and the individuals that are doing the inspection. And but is it possible? I'm not going to say you can't write code that'll be possible, but if you're being told by Randy that it's not a good program for them, then you want to avoid the liability on top of that. So.
I have a question for Mark. Mark, it seems like you're the one that put this on the agenda?
No, it came up in a previous conversation at a CRA board meeting. And I can't remember the exact conversation, but basically there was an issue that had arose during that CRA meeting, and one of the remedies to solve the issue was we used to have this inspection process, and so the question came up of should we bring it back or not? That's all this
It's
is.
because the CRA grant was requiring an inspection. It stated in it that they were requiring an inspection,
Right.
but we weren't requiring anybody to have inspections. So then that's why the question came up. Should we require inspections or just take it out of the language of our CRA grants?
Right. So if we don't intend on having these inspections at all, then we need to remove it from the CRA grant process.
What this refers to is basically a periodic inspections, not something for issuance of a grant. So if you wanted to have it for the issuance of a grant, there's a way to do it. But, as Randy said, do we have any personnel, and is it worth hiring personnel to do so? Or you would have to hire an outside contractor to do those inspections and so on, and accept the liability associated with it. I just suggest, and Randy's statement is right. I mean, Chapter 83 is out there, but not only that, but the Florida Bar has a fairly nice pamphlet. It states, landlord-tenant rights, and you might want to get something like that, or there's probably a tenant organization somewhere that issues in Florida that issues a Florida pamphlet as well. But, when somebody calls in, maybe that's the best thing. And given the circumstances, it's just to let them have that. And then, they can see if they can get an attorney to handle that situation.
Okay. Randy, I know that with some government programs, there's inspections that's involved. Is that something that's typically done by the health department or?
No. The only thing the health department does is septic inspections.
Okay.
Talking with Eric Longshore, they get a lot of complaints about mold. He won't even send his people because how do they determine what's mildew and what's mold?
Sure.
They don't have the equipment and all that, but that's their biggest thing too. And we get a lot of those calls too, that there's mold or mildew growing on the walls.
Yeah.
And mold is not necessarily harmful.
Correct.
There's other molds that are terribly harmful. So how do you know the difference without having it tested and all that stuff?
Exactly.
And anybody that rents knows that you put a provision in your lease, basically, giving them options with regard to that to move out if they have a problem with it.
I mean, ultimately, the onus is on the landlord and the tenant when they sign that lease. If they have a lease, a lot of these don't even have leases, but it's not like the tenant goes in there and can't see the water's dripping through the ceiling or they almost fall through the floor. Mm-hmm. But yet at $400-$500 a month, I'll take it. And then, think about this. Once somebody calls us and we have to go out and do an inspection, the landlord's going to know who called. So guess what? Guess who's getting evicted? I mean, so the person that's trying to, and then at what point it's cyclical. It just keeps going and going, and it's a turnover. And I just don't see.
At some point, we're putting ourselves in the middle of a contractual relationship.
Exactly, and that's what I don't like.
So if it is something that's like structural, though, can a tenant call the building department and tell them, or is their only choice just to move out because they don't feel safe in something like that?
Well, I don't know how the tenant would know that it was something that was.
If your ceiling's falling in, or you see huge cracks coming down your wall, or termites and part of your
there's plenty of attorneys out there that would talk to them about that, I'm sure, and give them options.
And part of our interlocal agreement with Highlands County Building Department, they don't do that.
Not after the fact.
So where does the condemning come in then, though? Because we have, we've got code enforcement, so obviously y'all can pinpoint things.
If it gets bad enough, the condemnation of a dwelling or a business, that I will call Eric Longshore on that, and I use his report as a basis to go in front of the magistrate and get a demolition order. I don't go. I'm not an engineer. I mean, some of this stuff is obviously very apparent when the part of the house is falling down, but still, I mean, from a liability standpoint, I don't want to knock somebody's house down only to find out later on it shouldn't have been knocked down.
Yeah.
You're writing a check to somebody for $100,000, and I'm in
Right.
here answering for it. I just soon put the liability on the building department, who are the subject matter experts.
Yeah, and case law, code enforcement basically says that you have to have a witness, a code officer, as opposed to just a code enforcement officer. It's got to be somebody who's a building official.
So as far as these grants that we're giving out and stuff like that, because I know that CRA's been going around and actually looking at these properties before giving them the grant. Mark always says it's like putting lipstick on a pig. So if we feel like it's a property that's not going to, that's not going to basically improve just by putting a coat of paint on it, then it's still up to us as a CRA advisory board to deny those things.
Yes, but I mean, it's really not apples to apples, because when you're going out, I used to do those facade inspections, I guess, for lack of a better word. I can tell if paint is peeling. I mean, everything's on the exterior of the house. It's readily apparent. I can tell if wood is rotten in a fascia or a soffit. That's the kind of stuff. But as far as going in, if it's structurally safe, if I'm doing 6 of those a month, it's not taking much time out of my day to go do that. Snap a few photos, send them to Sean. Actually, Sean's doing them himself now. But I think it's a whole different thing than going inside of a house and testing sockets and looking at the floor joists and all, make sure you're not going to fall through it.
I mean, I don't agree we should be doing that stuff either. It's just too time consuming as well.
Here's my issue I'm having with it. I agree with everything everybody said here, but it seems like we're contributing to the problem if we're going to use our CRA grant to just, like Mark said, putting his lipstick on a pig. We're contributing to the problem if we're not going to look out for the tenant. We're putting this kind of money into our owner's property, but yet still we're not looking out for the tenants at all. We just giving them money. They come here, we take snap pictures. It shows that they need the help, and we just giving them money. But inside, it's falling down, and who's suffering is the tenant. So, who are we looking out for? Are we looking out for just the homeowners to put a lipstick? However Mark said, we're looking out for the homeowners, or should we be looking out for the tenants as well?
Well, in the
That's
case of CRA grants, it's always the landlord that's applying.
Right.
A
So
tenant's not
what
applying.
I'm saying is, why keep giving this money to the landlord if they're not taking care of their tenants? Why keep
In other words, we wouldn't know if it's a rental property.
we're not gonna know it. My question is, how do we find out? Do we keep giving money to the tenant? To the landlord, and the tenants are not benefiting at all? It just don't make no sense to me. And what is the resolution for that? I don't know.
Yeah.
But as long as we keep giving them money, they're going to keep treating the tenants the same way. So that's why I say it looks like we're contributing to the problem. We're not helping in any way.
But there's not always a circumstance where we can, do something like that. I mean, just because there is an issue and there's a legal problem doesn't mean that we need to handle the legal problem. It's something. What we're saying is, yeah, we can, tell them that there's a legal problem, but we're not the ones that are going to litigate for them. Give them a brochure, and they can hire an attorney, like other like businesses do, and so on. And whereas if we start doing this, we basically put ourselves between the landlord and the tenant, and we just don't have the expertise to do that. And if we did, it's going to be very costly. So. And it's, like I said, it's a minefield of liability associated with, going inside somebody's house, even with permission. And then, what happens in there, ask a police officer what can happen when you're inside somebody's house. And both Mark and Randy are, former police officers. I know they know what can happen once you have somebody in there who they're not happy with, so it's just, it's an issue that I think.
So, Mr. Burr, you're saying the county is the one that handles this, correct? These
No,
issues.
the county only handles the building department in the beginning, or if it's so bad, or if it appears to Randy that it's so bad that it needs to be demoed, or people are in danger inside the house, not because they have an unpleasant experience in the house. That's between them and the landlord.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can't put ourselves between the landlord and the tenant in those circumstances. And even in the inspection program, there's not a whole lot we can do in that regard. And we don't have any right to regulate apartment complexes because that's done by the state Department of Business and Professional Regulation.
And the reason why I bring this up, Mr. Burr, a lot of you guys know that I was going around to different properties. It didn't matter to me whether they was rental or they was owned. I didn't know until I knocked on the door. And I have been getting a lot of complaint. Bernice, you sitting here worrying about what it looked like on the outside. Take a look, walk inside and take a look what it looks like on the inside. What is the city's gonna do about that? You know, that, and I know now that that's not our, you know. But
No, but I would suggest what you can do is you can basically provide them with a brochure, which is published by a reliable source, such as the Florida Bar, or maybe a tenant association in Florida, which I'm not aware of. I know there's a landlord association, but I don't know that's probably a tenant association. But the Florida Bar puts out a brochure that the city could buy, and if somebody makes that complaint, maybe give them that brochure and say, you know, it's not something we can get involved in, but here, you know, this is, if you think that you have a right to some kind of redress under the law, here's a brochure to consider.
So the brochure would just list the attorneys that deal with that kind of stuff?
No, the Florida
That's
Bar
not-
does, but it'll mention the fact that they have a referral service.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm
But what it'll talk about are the statutes that are out there, and in layman's terms, how they can enforce, you know, how that can be enforced by the tenant, that they're not just helpless in Florida.
But as
Yeah.
a council, we can't hand out, just say, John Smith, here, call John Smith. He's
No.
a good attorney.
I
We
would
can't
not-
do that,
no,
right?
I would not do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Florida Bar Referral Service is good at that, and they'll say whether they're certified or whether they just practice in that area, and then I don't think we should get into recommendations at all.
I also think that the tenant has some responsibility because, first of all, they have to make the choice of whether they're gonna rent the property for day one to move in. So if it's in bad shape day one, then they shouldn't be renting it. And if it does continue over time, whether it's 2 years or 5 years, then you just don't get another lease. You look for a place that's better, because I'm sure there's always plenty out there available, and whether you might have to pay more or not. But, it's just like when you buy a home. You just can't say, I bought a home and I moved in there 6 months later and everything's falling apart. Well, then you should have had somebody inspect it and to make sure that everything was good before you bought it. And if it wasn't good, then, you have to decide whether you're going to buy it, because buyers beware of risk. Well, it's the same thing with a tenant. I mean, you move into a place that's pretty shoddy, you're the one that accepted to do that rental agreement.
And sometimes, it's even worse than that. People move into a place that's shoddy like that because they can't afford to buy, rent a place that's really nice, but they want to have somebody else tell them, tell the landlord that they got to fix it up to the $1,000 a month as opposed to the $500 a month. Sure. And that's why we just don't want to put ourselves in that situation.
All right, I think it's quite evident that this is not going to go forward, so.
Mayor, one thing?
Yes.
If we're not going to do it, Jerry, how do we get it out of here? Because it says it's unlawful for an owner to even lease or rent without it.
Yeah, we just would remove that code section. I'll draft a revocation of that code.
Amen.
Very good.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Yep.
Seeing none. Item number 10, the Christmas mall decorations. This had came up several meetings ago. Christmas happened since then, and different people were out, so we're waiting until we finally had a full council back to discuss it again. So we have a certain amount of money in our budget, and there was certain council members that was wanting some different types of decorations and things. So now is the time to bring it up.
Yeah, I'll just make a brief comment because I've made them before, and we have people here just going to discuss what their idea was. But early December, I talked to Kamala, and she was mentioning how that they were looking towards Christmas decorations as December goes near the end. You can buy them at a much reduced price, and they actually had been shopping, her and friends, and saw that there was already deals out there before, but it was kind of late to try to buy something on the 15th to get out there, for 2 weeks or something like that. So I just thought it'd be a great idea that if we had one or two persons that were willing to do the shopping and were willing to bring out the brochures of things that they think that would improve and update, what we have out on the mall right now. That one, they could, if they have information to get things at a reduced price before Christmas this year, and then also at the same time would have the availability for the next year's budget to have money to go shopping after Christmas if they're willing to do it on their own at a very, very much reduced price. And this way that, whether we give them 5,000 or 6,000, that after a few years, they would be back to $1,000 or less just for replacement parts because they would build it up. And I think we talked before about having, nobody on staff wants to do that. I'm not sure anybody up here really wants to do it. I know I wouldn't want to do it, but we have people in the audience that have actually talked about it and have plans about it. So I think that we all let them speak and see what they have to say, and then we can go from there.
Okay. I'm assuming there's people in the audience that want to speak.
One or two of you, both of you?
I see three ladies
Three of
back
you?
there that all want to speak. I know they do. All right, and before they get into that, do we have any guidelines as to what our current budget is for decorations?
We budgeted 4,000 this year, and we overspent that by 200 already.
Okay. So this year's budget is done. And do you know if that's been kind of the continual amount that we budgeted every year?
Actually, the year before we budgeted 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're just.
Yeah, most all of that was spent on lights.
Okay.
Yeah.
And typically how the purchasing is done is a staff member identifies what needs to be purchased, or
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been David Roberts as for what lights we need. Most of them around the tree and that, and then he gets with purchasing who orders them.
so that they haven't necessarily been adding lights. They just more or less been maintaining what we have done in prior years.
Well, yes, basically, but within 2 years, they're not worth too much. I mean, they're not heavy commercial type lights.
Right. Okay. All right. Name and organization for the record.
Rosie Longecker. I live at 621 East Cornell Street,
Okay.
Avon Park.
Camel Long, 2486 Salt Lake Letter Drive. So we're just interested individuals hoping to improve the decorations in Avon Park.
Okay.
Okay, I took the time to go through and to check on commercial pricing of certain items that would be used, like lights, things like doing trees. The whole mall can't be done at once, that's
Sure.
an understanding. And if there would be a possibility to get close to $8,000 a year, we could do 2 sections of the mall at a time, 4,000 on each section, or maybe 3. Not every section would require that amount of money. Mr. Schrader had made a comment about not using flags. That was one thing that makes the city look really good. They can be used more than just at Christmas time. All the hardware has been purchased and is still available. It's in storage for the 42 light posts that the flags went on. And I know there's 42 because I hang 42 wreaths on the posts that don't.
And they
didn't
look
get
they
the
look
flags on.
fabulous. They look good.
So that's why that's the reason I know that how many's there. But you've already got the hardware, so the flags would not be a big expense. A company that I went to that they're commercial and I wouldn't be interested in seeing vinyl go up. That was what was up before, and a storm came. That was the year that we had a hurricane late and they all got torn up. I would recommend that you would do Sombrella, which is canvas. You can do a 2-color 18 by 45 inch flag for $50. And it's umbrella. That'll last for probably 5 years.
Because they're only up for seasonal.
That's
Yeah.
right. They're only up, 6 weeks out of the year.
Right.
But the other thing that would be nice about having that, and this has nothing to do with Christmas, when those come down, you could put one that advertises the city up. Like the historic district or something like that. The hardware wouldn't have to come down. The hardware could stay up. All it would take entail is sliding the flag off and putting another flag back on. And you could buy 42 flags for $3,000. that are canvas. From a commercial person. So that would be one thing, you know, to take in mind. That would encompass the whole mall, $3,000. If you could see in your hearts to give up to like $8,000 for Christmas decorations, you only have to do that for about 5 years. There's 18 sections on the mall, and if you did 2 a year,
Yeah.
within 5 years they would be done.
Well, I think the immediate rebuttal is how long do the lights last?
If you buy LED lights, which are mostly what they put on the mall now, like the tree across from on the post across from City Hall, those lights, I don't put the lights up, so I don't know. But LED lights have like a 1,500 to 200,000 hour burn on.
Sure. No, I was just curious if, in talking to those commercial vendors.
I would recommend doing nothing but LED lights.
Yeah, I just figured the commercial vendors that you had talked to probably had a warranty or something.
The vendor doesn't have the warranty, it's the light company that would have the warranty. But even if you go to Walmart and buy, I'm on the team that does the jacaranda. 4 years ago, we bought LED lights for all the lights at the jacaranda. Those lights go on the minute we have the decorations done, and they don't shut off until we take them down, and we haven't replaced one.
I think it's also care
And we
too.
haven't replaced one strand of lights.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in 4 years' time.
Are those the one in the jacaranda or on the outside? Outside.
All the decorations of the jacaranda, except for the ones that go crisscross up on the veranda, those lights are done by a decorating company. And all those lights were bought at the jacaranda at Walmart. I bought them.
Most of the commercial companies that I talk to, they won't guarantee them like you were saying.
Well, the companies don't guarantee them. The light company.
Well, they'll usually only say like 1 to 5 years because, well, one thing, we're in Florida and our sun's really hot and our weather can get really bad. So it's a wide variety of guarantees and things like that. But the ones that, you know, just when one goes out, the whole thing doesn't go out. Those are
buy a strand like that. You don't buy a strand like that.
Right.
You pay attention. If you buy good lights, you don't have to buy them every year. Like I said, the ones that we use at the jacaranda, we buy those at Walmart, and we haven't replaced them in 4 years' time, and they're on 24/7 for over a month.
Yeah.
They're on the Christmas tree, they're on the mantle, they're on the front porch, they're on the wreaths that are up on the second and third floor. You know,
As far as your flags, what guarantee did you find with the company that you found?
I didn't read into the guarantees. I was looking. From experience, Sunbrella is a canvas that is very heavy. It's a waterproof canvas, but air can also pass through it.
Right.
Vinyl that's it. The wind hits it, and that's it. They tear.
Yeah, some companies called them mesh because I got it around the same price, around like the $50 to $55 range. But they said they would only guarantee them 4 seasons, either 1 year or 4 seasons based on the sun exposure, even with the UV protection and stuff like that. But they said they very well could last up to 5 years. They're just not going to guarantee us that they're going to last 5 years.
Well, that's why I was looking at canvas.
Yeah, these were, they called them mesh, but they had the UV protection on them as well.
Mesh is not canvas.
Yeah.
Mesh
So
is
the Sunbrella material is the same material that a lot of these businesses, a lot of the businesses on Main Street use it whenever we're giving out these CRA grants for their awnings, and most of them are getting 5 years of continuous use.
Yeah.
So seasonal use, as long as they're not torn, you know, they might last for 20 years. Who knows?
Right.
It's marine fabric.
Right. It depends on how they're stored and depends on how they're put up and down. That's.
Well, actually, the city does a good job of storing, pretty much so. Garden Club stores their stuff in the same building as you all store your stuff.
Okay.
So, you know, it's stored. All they would have to do is be put in plastic tubs where they wouldn't get moisture. But I mean, that's just one thing to go at. but the hardware's already there, so why not use it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the flags make
And
perfect sense.
$8,000 really isn't a lot if you're talking about doing 2 sections at a time and trying to get it done within a short period of time and not 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it can be beautiful. And to do, like you've got the tree down here across from City Hall,
Mm-hmm.
you know, those can be acquired also and done. And we've got some great big areas that need attention, and those could fill in those areas. They don't have to be that big around. They could be smaller around and tall and different sizes. You know, that would fill up a lot of space, and it would be color. You could do them either colored or, you know, a solid color. But if you buy any lights to be bought, would be LED. You know, even C7s in that LED lights. The trees that I put up in front of City Hall, those metal trees that I wrapped, those lights are 5 years old.
Excuse me, have you looked at anything else besides, first of all, I love the flags, and I have flags all over my house, and I know if you don't buy the canvas type ones, you might only go through one season, especially if it gets caught on a branch or something like that. So that's a must. And I remember when we did have the few flags, even though we didn't have that many, but it still looked really nice. Unfortunately, they didn't last. And so I like that. And I think the same thing with the LEDs. Maybe the cheaper ones, easier, less expensive. I know that sometimes you can buy, 1,000 light bulbs for $1 after Christmas at some of these stores. I mean, if you had people willing to put in their own volunteer time to do this. But have you looked at any other options, like you said, to fill in the big spaces?
Oh, there's all kinds of options, but
because you got a lot of cardboard stuff,
right
wooden
now.
stuff out there.
I mean, there's a ton of options. Kamala has a list of things that can be done. Now, even your lights that you have on the lamppost on the mall, a lot of those came from Walmart. Because I was there with Rick and buying them.
Is there any armies of volunteers to help put them up?
Your city folk already put the lights up, and
Well, they put up the lights that we put up. But what I'm saying is, if you multiply that by 10 times,
well, it's going to be over a period of time, and if we can work this right, we can get volunteers to do it.
Mhm.
I'm a volunteer. I do it. I don't get paid.
Sure.
You know.
And we have volunteers that, again, citizens that are interested in just making our downtown beautiful, making our historic downtown attractive
Mhm.
to visitors and residents. We would use some of the same decorations that have been purchased and that have been used in previous years. We would just group them differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So we're not looking to abandon the things that have already been purchased.
Right.
We're just looking to add to it.
Yeah, so obviously we can't hand out money to an organization to go buy lights. This much we know. So if you have a list of items as a suggestion for the city to purchase, by all means, hand it over. So, but the city's not going to just hand you a check for $4,000 and say go buy some lights.
Well,
It's
no,
not
the
gonna
way
happen.
that I would approach it is I would do the research and I would get what
Right.
I would think would be needed to be bought and take it to Mr. Schrader and say, well, what do you think?
Right.
I mean,
That's what. That's all I'm saying
that's
is.
the only way I would do it. I mean, there would be no other.
Sure.
That's the only way we could do it.
Mayor,
And-
can I jump in?
Please.
Here's my thought. One, it takes our people a month to put up what we got. So it takes away. So anything added, yes, it's going to take time. But the last time about getting a committee and all that and this, here's my thought. Budget will be coming up. When do we start? In July. That's when you're going to put money in for next year, right?
Right.
So say you put the $8,000 in there. We have some lights, yes, the ones that go around the pole, but as David Roberts knows, every night when I leave here late and it's dark, I'm calling him, half this one's out, this one's all out, so they're replacing it. But my thought is, and I brought this up, I think, to Jason and David in the past, if we get whatever the extra, and I'm not against flags, I just said the ones we have out there got so bad they had to come down, and some of our hardware does need to be replaced. They've improvised and put it on, so you'd need both. I'm all for the flags. You see it in other towns, they look very nice. So if we could get lights and flags for whatever price you got, when we go to put them up, Rosie, you tell me, like, the deer didn't look good, that you tell them where you want them.
Well, I
And-
don't
and
know,
we'll put 'em up.
You know, I already talked to the guys.
I mean, I
when
think
they're
that'd be
putting
the
stuff
easiest if the city works, but we can't have 50 people telling us we want this here, we want there.
No.
You know, we get one or two people saying, you know, this will look good there. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who does it, someone's going to complain because that's life.
Right.
But
Sure.
if we could just work with them, the city workers work with them, this is where we'll put it. I don't think Jason would have a problem with that. He'll be right out there in the man lift and put them on the tree. But that's why our lights don't last a lot, because at the jack, you don't wrap around all these trees and poles. That takes a lot of wear and tear. But we're all for working with the citizens. We tried 2 years ago to get more. We got a few out that wanted to decorate the trees. We got the one that put the star on. I mean, we want more. If we can get the businesses, our chamber can get them more of them involved. She tried last year with the decorating. So
Yeah.
I think that's the way the city works with the citizens. We'll get it done.
Yeah, I think just
Omaha has a lot of ideas, so that, I mean, that would be, the basis of it is a bunch of us get together and help the city do it.
We
But,
agree.
You know, the city's doing it for the citizens of the city. You know, it's the citizens' money.
right.
It's their tax money.
Those who
So,
pay
you
it,
know,
correct.
that's. So the
Anyways, I think we can just work together and make this work. We got the city funds, whatever you all decide during the budget. You want to put $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 in it. That's what we'll have to use, and that's what we'll get done. We'll call you in and sit down. What do you need? We'll get it. We'll put it up, and if you can get helpers to put it up, that's good.
I just have one more question for you, Tom. I know that you, both of you have formed a list of other people that want to be involved in, you know, help picking, choosing, or volunteer to put them up. You know, without having a committee, have they all basically committed into letting, say, the two of you to pick and choose, and then just get them to come help you put them up as volunteers instead of having a big committee and go in the sunshine, which is one thing we need to avoid at all costs. So have you talked to all these other people that were volunteers that they would be happy to have the two of you take care of their purchasing and buying, or at least shopping, and that they'd be happy?
Yeah, they're all small business owners on Main Street.
Okay.
So a lot of our Main Street businesses and owners are interested, as well as some of their
Okay.
staff.
All right, good.
So they're just volunteers.
Okay.
And the businesses.
Big part of it is just advertising, saying that this event's coming up and that, you know, getting people excited about it, hype about it. You know, as the gentleman said earlier, you know, with St. Patty's Day, it's one of the most widely celebrated activities. Well, why? It's just because people get into it and they hype it up. But if all of a sudden one generation went by where nobody cared, it would be gone. So
Well, our door decorating that we did last year was very popular and successful,
Yeah.
and we had a lot of businesses participate in that.
Mhm.
We've talked about bringing back the decorating the trees and maybe involving some of the local schools to be involved in that.
Sure.
So we've talked about some ideas of, again, bringing the community together to be proud of our downtown
Right.
and decorate together. And definitely working with the
plus,
city.
I know that if I go out to Main Street and I decorate one particular corner or something, then I know whenever I see somebody doing something they shouldn't be on that corner, I'm going to get pissed off. I'm going to go fix it. You know, so that's always a good thing to get more people involved.
There's ownership, right? When
Right.
you put the work in.
And also kudos to you, Rosie, and your crew that for decorating the city hall inside and outside. You all do a fantastic job. It's beautiful.
That's Avon Park Founders Garden Club.
Yeah, well,
They've been doing it, I shouldn't say they, we've been doing it for, I don't know how many years, long before I was a resident in this town. I've been here 20 years, and long before I came. So that's just something the garden club takes pride in that.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so if we get the rest of them all like that, I think everybody will be happy. And then I think it's a great idea, and I'm glad that two of you have volunteered to work in this direction. And come back at budget, maybe we'll bring that up. We have a line item already. We can discuss it at budget time again.
But please don't wait until then to turn in your ideas.
Yeah.
Go, you know, turn those in as you get them. So
You want a copy of what we got now?
that gentleman does.
I'll bring you, Mr. Schrader, I'll bring you a copy by Wednesday
Very good.
of different ideas that we've got for the mall. And a lot of them are ones that were done beforehand wayside when Anna Marie Feeney was passed away.
Yeah.
Yep.
If we would like to reinstate, do those, some of those again too.
Good.
Yeah, I was actually working for a private company inside Walmart a couple Christmases, and I mean, I gave several dozen boxes of lights that I got, some even for less than $1. They were originally $10 to $20 because after the 15th, they just need to get them out of the store, and that's sometimes was the best time to go shopping. I remember the very last year that she was with us, which she always was a big, great pride mover for the city and the military. But I think I had about 25 boxes, and they were all purple because that's was the ones that were left. And I happened to like the purple lights, and I thought, well, you could do one section, nothing but purple lights. It never looked good, but I don't know whatever happened to them because that was the last chance I had a chance to get them.
Very good. We appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
All right, moving on to item number 11, regular updates from city manager.
As you can see, no word from the FAA. And I put in your garbage cart flyers that as of tomorrow they'll start handing out all the garbage carts. So you'll probably get some calls like we will.
Okay.
On our website, we have this and we have the entire ordinance for anybody wants to go on and read it, not even the citizens. And Donald Cummings is resigned from the P&Z group, and we've already got it online.
Okay. Any questions on the report?
I have a question on the garbage carts. I understand completely the reason why we need to limit some of these things because people, abuse it all the time. But at the same time, whether you're a small family or a medium-sized family, a few times a year you could have a big gathering, whether it's, the holidays at the end of the year or special birthday or something like this. I purposely don't see if you had a few garbage bags sticking out of the top, as long as they would not fall off as they're being picked up. I think there has to be exceptions or some kind of leeway to let that happen. And as far as leaving things on the ground, no, because that's extra work to pick them up and everything else. And then the same thing about keeping the lid closed, which obviously, if you don't want your garbage to smell when you walk outside the door, you keep the lid closed before you take it out to the curb. But what happens if you get something like say you broke a rake and you have a 6 foot, 7 foot long wooden pole? I mean, you put it in your garbage, it's going to have to be with the lid off of it. I mean, are you expected to cut up that wooden pole or put it in the yard waste, or because there's going to be exceptions to everything?
But everything that I've got in this flyer comes right out of the ordinance y'all approved. And the reason, Jim, you can't put stuff on it is we have the side loaders. Nobody's going to be
Right.
enough to get this.
Well-
And that's another reason to make it closed. We don't want it flying all over.
Yeah, and I think if you notice it, because I know I'd noticed, of course, I'm home a lot, that, one time the regular truck comes by with the one or two guys, and the next time the guy with the self-loader gets it. But,
So there are going to be some routes that will have still a rear loader where they're going to jump off and pull it over until we're able to afford a second.
Okay.
side loader. I mean, this goes back to the city looking not very nice, like crap, stuff laying all over. And it's going to take a while for people to understand it. The county's been doing this for 20 years, probably, out of pictures everywhere.
Yeah.
And stuff overflowing, bags laying around. Even the guys that jump off the truck, right, that I'm having to grab 5 bags
Yeah.
or whatever.
and they do a good job of it. I give them a lot of credit for doing the extra work, and I understand your reasons why you don't. But like I said, I'm just a two-party household right now, and so I'm lucky I could probably just take the garbage out once a month and have the lid down. But I know there was a couple times I had 2 weddings in my backyard, and so I don't remember whether I had an overflowing garbage can or not. I pretty much don't remember ever putting bags on the ground, but I might have put an extra bag on top of the lid, so when the guy's taking it back, he could throw it as a lid. But what I'm just saying is that we have to give. One thing I realized that our garbage collectors are professionals. They know what they're doing, and they know their customers. So they know when somebody's abusing it on a regular basis, just like the guy that does the claw pickup. You know, he comes by and sometimes he passes by once or twice and waits till I get a bigger pile, because he knows the properties that he goes to. He knows our customers and the citizens and how they do. And obviously he also knows whether somebody came and cut down 5 trees on your property and put all that stuff out front. He knows that that's a no-no. But
You got a tree service truck parked in the driveway.
yeah, exactly. So, but I'm just saying that there's exception to everything. I just think we have to realize that you know. But I do understand those that, at the same time, those that basically break the rules all the time, then they're the ones that have to be say, guess what? Either pay for an extra garbage can or cart, or we're not going to pick up anything else from now on the ground, you know, except unless it's just once or twice a year. I think our people don't mind helping out, but just my thoughts.
Well, I received. Whoops, sorry. Just like you, Melody. I receive calls myself, so I know they receive them out there. People call up and say, "Hey, I'm having a party at my house," or come together after a funeral, or whatever, and they ask for more carts. They pay for them, and they get them. As far as the claw truck, they're not coming around picking it up anymore. It says in there, you have to have it bundled. There's going to be 2 guys or 1 guy in the back of a rear loader. They're going to get off, pick it up, throw it in the back of a rear loader. This claw's not coming to pick it up. If they come and pick it up, you're going to get another charge on your bill.
That's what I was going to ask. So that we're discontinuing the claw truck on its regular route now.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's the biggest change.
Yes, it'd be just like the county does. They're there once a week. On Thursday, they pick my garbage up, and then later on, a rear loader comes, usually only 1 guy in the back. He jumps off, and I've got a bag of leaves, or I've cut some branches up and tied them up. They pick and throw them up. Same thing with bulk things, which would be the second day of when they pick up. It tells in there that I think it's 2 or 3 cubic foot. Shows you what size it is. They jump off there, pick it up, throw it in. But if there's a big pile of it, Randy or his code enforcement officer is going to be out there. So you're going to take care of it. You're going to get cited.
Sure. And now, if you do have some big event, a tree falls down in your yard or something, you get it cut up, can you call the city and have them come pick it up for a fee?
For a fee.
Okay.
Yep.
That's good.
And I mean, it's all in there. Like I said, I took all the main things to try to shorten it up for our citizens to see it, and gave some pictures on what. But no, when the side loader shows up, he's not going to get out and turn your garbage can or cart around so he can pick it up. He's going to drive by it. Maybe you'll learn next time. Yeah. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, Jim. It's going to take some of these people a while to understand, because you can drive down the street now. Some of them put them the right way, some of them are back way, some of them don't even have lids on it, which, you know, we need to get new carts out there for them. But it's like I say, we're all going to get calls, and his assistant's going to get a ton of them. So
yeah. Well, I mean, in what limited manner I've watched the garbage collection happen, I mean, they tend to do a really good job. So I haven't seen any major flaws in how they're doing it. I mean, everybody seems to be professional, seem to, you know, be getting after it pretty good. So,
well, you know, even the rear loader, we have what's it called the thing that grabs it and dumps it in. I mean, so even when people leave out there, that makes them pick the bags up, throw them in, slows down the route, and so
the handle goes towards the street?
No, the handle goes towards the house.
Yep.
I'm glad I found out.
You'll see a metal bar. That's what's got to get picked up by the truck.
I just thought they would.
You push it out to the street.
Yeah, but when they come, then they got to step around it to grab the handle.
No, if you have the bar, you push it out to the street. The other bar that they scoop it with is on the other side.
For the side loader. She's talking about the side loader.
Yeah, I was talking about the regular guys when they come pick it and put it on the back to go.
Right, but they're not coming anymore.
Yeah.
They will on some routes till we get another truck, but you never know what day the side loader is going to be on a route. So they're going to pick up as much as they can.
Well.
So they'll grab them and get them there.
FYI, I've been putting mine out with the handle towards the street, and both vehicles have had no problem.
Well, whenever we hear you complaining, they haven't picked up my garbage in 3 months, we'll know.
Not once. I think they do a fantastic job, and I love them. And I think even the mall area, Exceptia, looks great. I've noticed that we went through a few weeks of clouds and cold and stuff like that, and the sun's been coming out. And I think that our city employees do a fantastic job, inside too. But the staff. But outside people, I give them a lot of credit that deal with the weather. And I remember the last time I talked to one of the employees, I said, what do you think about the cold weather? He goes, I love it when it's cold in the morning because I know by the afternoon it's going to be warm. So, you know, they all have good attitude, which is what I think makes a major difference on how you treat them and manage them, supervise them, and pay them. So I'm real happy with that. And if I ever get a warning or a ticket, I'll be happy to pay for it. If I need somebody to come pick something up, I'll be happy to pay for the extra stuff. I want to be like everybody else too. So
We hope all the citizens are that way,
well,
Jim.
if they ask me, I'll tell them. I'll tell them what they got to do.
All right.
So
Go ahead.
I want to ask a question. So the picture that's in the bulk waste, where there's more than 2 cubic yards, a lot of times I see a lot of people on Lake Avenue cleaning out residents that have lived in the manors or whatever those apartments right in there. I mean, it's almost a whole city block long.
Right. That's when Randy gets involved.
Okay, so then the garbage gets red tagged, or how does that work?
They're going to notify code enforcement. Code enforcement's going to go out there, tell them it's a violation. If they leave it there, they're going to get cited.
Okay. That was my
And
question.
if it's an eyesore to the point we're going to pick it up, then it's going to go on their bill.
Okay.
But yes, we see a lot. That's what we're hoping this eventually does away with once people realize we're not picking all this. You know how much free garbage this city's picked up over the years?
Yes.
Free.
A literal mountain of it. Yeah.
So it's the more than the 2 cubic, is if they put some out and they continue to put it out, you pick it up. It's just that you put it all out at one time. That's where the city has problems.
Right. You can put, if you want to put a little out on whatever day they pick up your bulk and wait another week to put it out again. Sure, you can do that.
That's a smart one.
I had that problem. I know you remember. And I know you remember. I didn't know. The house I bought.
We all learn, right?
Norris Washington's father's house. This really wasn't Norris Washington's father's house, by the way. But I had that problem. I didn't know. And I think the past owner had said she had an issue with it. I think she may have came and talked to you. She had an issue because every month for the last 30 years, you went into her account and she paid it. She paid the water bill. And so therefore she thought she should have been entitled for 30 years, that it automatically came out of her account, no question asked. So when she decided to put it out there, and there was a question with the city. I don't know if y'all remember that.
I don't.
So that's why I'm asking about the amount you put out there. It's the amount you put out there at one time.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
I learned.
Anything else for the good of the city?
Sir.
Seeing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, please.
Seeing no oh, you had something, sir? There's always one. No, just kidding. Just give your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Louis Holtz. I own a property in 1308 South Folga Avenue. And I have a question, actually a couple of questions about Resolution 2024-02.
Okay.
It's actually 2 liens. The first one is the one for the demolition. Mr. LaBelle explained that's, can't waive that. No. The other one, it wasn't clear what it was. It was a $250 fine, and it ran for 10 months, and it accumulated $68,000.
Right.
And, seems like maybe the gentleman had passed away. Now, since then, the house was demolished, so whatever lien that was, went away. Now, me, in my case, I'm fixing it. I'm building a new house. Now, my question is, I was reading over the regulations about this. It says that if I'm not the culprit, if I'm not the one who caused the lien, I should receive 100%.
No, it doesn't say that.
No.
No. I've had this conversation with him no less than 4 times on how to remedy that situation through the lien reduction
The only
hearing.
way to get it
Yes.
done is just as he said, I'm sure. You got to apply to have it done. You need to prove something that is part of the code, such as the cost of building a new building that looks good and creates value to the city and the neighboring residents instead of
Yeah.
what was there, which was an eyesore. And then that is how you get some compensation, but you're never going to get 100%.
Okay,
And I
so-
told you that when you called me in Germany.
Okay, so what is the next step? What do I have to do?
Application form, you get it from him. I'm sure he's told you. You
told him this.
You get an application from him, and you fill it out.
Yeah.
Answer all the questions, and if they have any additional ones, answer those too. Then it'll come before this commission, or it'll be done by the city manager, depending on the amount that's justified.
Okay. Now, is it a different application than the one I already did?
No, it's not. It's the same application, but yours did not proceed because you didn't pay the hard costs yet. The $4,000 some that's owed to the city.
Okay.
So it's sitting there in limbo until something's done with that. And tonight, the resolution was done as a way of, I believe, to deferring that payment until he sells or builds the house at the end, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's based on need, but you need to apply for that. Okay, if you want to have a note for that, you can apply for that, and you show the city manager that you have the need to have that deferred as a loan. Then they'll figure out the terms and so on of that loan. But it's got to be paid before anything happens. Nothing's going to happen until you get that resolved, either paid or you get a payment plan that the city accepts.
Thank you.
Got it? All right. Anything else for the good of the city? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, please.
Seeing no opposition, we are adjourned.